Hello. It's 1:13 p.m. on Saturday, July 24, 2021. I hope you are well. I'm going to follow up on something that was acknowledged earlier and will provide some information and let you know that the determination still stands. Earlier in the year, there was an announcement between the United States and Norway that there was going to be some form of cooperation around existing United States military facilities as well as construction, or rather modification, of United States military facilities in Norway. The problem was that the announcement and the alleged commitments fit into a pattern that was incredibly disturbing. Specific to that pattern had been an announcement much earlier that was a follow up from an announcement years before about how the pension schemes, the national pension schemes of the Scandinavian countries, were factoring into business but also national development paradigms concerning other countries, including countries where narcotics trafficking and the attendant results of narcotics trafficking were causing a lot of conflict, including in manners directly related to what was alleged to be a need to seek humanitarian assistance in other countries, including through claims of asylum having to do with exposure to violence in their countries of origin. The political implications surrounding the allegations of exposure to violence, including the relationship with the military and or those alleging themselves to be state actors, have not been as fully examined as they should be, and perhaps now is the time to do that. When the Norwegian government allowed itself to be identified with this announcement by the American government under the helm of the alleged President Joseph Biden, what it did is it confirmed a series of events wherein the State Department had been providing misrepresentation of compliance regarding international counter trafficking standards that it specifically requested Norway provide a third party perspective on when it came to compliance. Sometime after that, however, issues regarding compliance at the Department of State in regards to counter trafficking efforts just disappeared. And what ended up happening, I contend, is that the individual who was in that position had created a certain largesse of political capital for herself and for those that were adherents to her specific political policy, including on the international stage. And domestic policy, including domestic policy regarding the role, the appropriate role of the United States military in dealing with not only its past, but also its present and potentially future prospects, has been impacted in a very unfortunate manner. Somebody used the intercession of Norway under alleged monitoring of an audit regarding compliance around counter trafficking as insurance. And it seems like what that insurance was for was to legitimize the abuse of the sex trade, as they call it. And some people want you to identify it and acknowledge and legitimize it as the sex trade in a process of also normalizing and legitimizing what was previously considered illegal narcotics trafficking. The role of trafficking human beings in connection with trafficking drugs as well as weapons, up to and including very dangerous weapons, has been a matter that presumably was supposed to be a global concern that many countries committed to years ago. This is incredibly disappointing. If it is true that this organization that's alleging it is some form of medical provider is actually engaging in this kind of comprehensive policy of taking in external investors in connection with a timeline that fits this specific pattern, including alleged securitization for tobacco that is itself connected to a contract that the Department of Defense announced regarding projectile weapons that are potentially nuclear capable. This is completely unacceptable. You have to understand that what you've done is you've exposed yourself in a manner that legitimately calls others to the table to consider what the next steps could be. In a refusal to apply anything close to reason and a continuing process of trying to taunt people with just how lascivious you can get away with being under some sort of facade of civilization, you've brought the world into a very precarious situation. Now, it's not my place, presumably, it's not my place, right, to interfere with or meddle in politics of foreign nations. But my entire life has been manipulated out of me for a political paradigm that does not work. Is it true that the Department of Treasury is in a position where it is on the verge of saying that the United States has defaulted on its debt? This is exactly what people were warned about 5 years ago, 4 years ago, 3 years ago, not just me, right? Not just by me. What happened in May of 2017 when Congress was called into a consideration of whether or not the United States was going to be able to get through the summer? What did Barack Obama do on his way out of office that less than half a year into what would have been the final budget he presided over, the United States was in a situation where it didn't have the budget to get through the summer? What did Norway offer to the United States under the auspices of cooperation with the Department of Defense that now sees to it that these strategic correlations, which by the way also factor in completely unacceptable interference by and in connection with the Central Intelligence Agency, is this directly implicated? My understanding is that the nation of Norway has made considerable decisions regarding its pension scheme. Did you agree to broker the welfare of your nation on aiding and abetting the infiltration by narco-terrorists into the United States government so that they could try to extort us into accepting and legitimizing drug and sex trafficking as a substitute for due process and economy? That's very, very unfortunate. One would like to believe that there is some leadership on a national level that could provide some sort of balance to the completely unacceptable acts that have been committed by people within the United States. I contend there is a very significant repudiation that is needed, and there is not a lot of time to provide it. In 10 days, it will be the 4th anniversary of an effort I made under a formal good faith context that thus far has been completely slandered and misrepresented. I don't know why it was okay for everybody else that was involved in this situation to try to characterize it in this manner, but thus far it has failed. It's unfortunate, but the nation of Norway is going to have to take a definitive stance within the next 10 days, or we're going to be in a very, very different ballpark, and none of you will have the authority to set the terms.